for Ferrari.
3, one more race.
Been Trofeo Pirelli. The back by his and racing career, and Alessandro Vezzoni is an AM driver and the best of the AM drivers in terms of qualifying and racing over the course of the weekend. He goes from P4 on the grid, but the front row is Bjorn Grossman and Babalus, and then the returning Dario Carzo as the fans there on the banks in what is beautiful, beautiful weather conditions here for the World Final weekend, and Ferrari as well as the Trofeo Pirelli World doing what
driving around. Yeah, whether it's either freezing cold or it's it's really never in between. See the sun shining, and yeah, looking forward to this race.
Thomas Gosner there, who's father of David Gosner. See there the trophy as well. Posters. Look at the 238 car of Gregory Romanelli, who has been very, very successful this weekend. Took a win yesterday. And Gregory Romanelli then will be hoping to go forward from his P6 position, but he's got some tough competition ahead of him. There's Max Blancardi, former world champion, of course, with Samantha Blancardi alongside there with a dutifully painted cheek as well. How lovely is that? Samantha, you look very lovely this morning. Always do in comparison to your husband Max, that's for sure. And Florian Merckx then, who has already taken a title this weekend. The title, would you believe, James, for the best liveried car, which was voted for by his Facebook fans, which was really nice. That award on Friday night. This place there. So a little snapshot of the bathed in sunshine Mugello circuit and the Ferrari flags ahead of this world final race. And Mr. Rigon there on track.
He seems to be everywhere, doesn't he? Good old Davide, teammate. He's a good guy.
He is actually. He's a really nice guy and really, really potent racer too. Manuel Anastis then also very, very potent from the North America region. Of course, Ferrari Challenge races not only in Europe but across North America and also the Asia Pacific as well. And it's at this weekend event regions come together, if you like, and in one glittering weekend, which is the finale. We see the best of the racers from Europe, from North America, and also Asia Pacific in the Trofeo Pirelli World Final race. So we've had 2 races in Trofeo Pirelli already, and pretty bruising affairs they were too. Let's take a look at just some of the highlights from those 2 races. As the lights went green, it was always going to be Babalus from pole position to try and convert that into P1, and he was untroubled by Bjorn Grossman, who trying to go around the outside had David Gosner for company. One of the AM drivers making really, really good progress was Sam Smith, unlike Dario Carzo, returning to the championship this weekend and finding himself in the gravel and then in the very unforgiving concrete wall. A lot of driving for the Scuderia Autoropa team, doing a fine job and leading Bjorn Grossman to the checkered flag in race 1 of Trofeo Pirelli. Livery there across the Autoropa cars. Alessandro Vezzoni was the best AM but was chased all the way by Sam Smith. Some took to the grass and to the gravel and then deposited an awful lot of that gravel out all over the circuit, which really didn't help those cars that were behind. There were some bold moves and some really rather foolish moves as well at times, and Steve Wyatt was one that found himself pointing in the wrong direction. And the grass is not the place to be, is it? when you're trying to make an overtake, losing control of the car and taking another competitor out at the same time. But Babylos did not put a wheel wrong. He headed home, Bjorn Grossman, to take honours in race 1. Now, he had P2 on the grid for race 2, but P2 was never going to be enough for him. And he really pushed Bjorn Grossman in a very forceful move to get his nose in front. And Bjorn Grossman had to take to the gravel, as we see from being on board with Alessandro Bezzoni, and the Amato Ferrari team watched on. Number of cars once again falling victim to the gravel traps. Bjorn Grossman again found himself the bridesmaid rather than the bride in race 2. Max Blancardi was pushed all the way by Florian Merckx. Alessandro Bezzoni, the best of the AM drivers until Sam Smith arrived on the tail. And then, unfortunately, is about to be collected now. And that was Tommaso Rocco that collected him, and it was one of those unfortunate incidents, James, where, you know, Tommaso Rocco was completely unsighted and could go nowhere, you know, when you're faced with a car right across the track.
That was a big one. Were they okay, the drivers?
Yes.
Wow, that
Yes.
was, I mean, doesn't look good for the two cars there, both front ends off.
Okay, so as the jingle indicates, we're about to go racing, and just to reinforce the point that James was making, both drivers, Tommaso Rocca and Joe Macari, both absolutely okay, and certainly Tommaso Rocca and Joe Macari are back in this race, so the team's have had to do an awful lot of work to repair those cars because of big damage.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like the whole front end was hanging off. No, it's good that they're okay. It just goes to show that these 458s are really safe. You know, it's not nice to have an accident like that, but to walk out of something and still have your legs all intact is obviously a good thing. So
that's an important point you make.
Exactly,
you want the integrity to know that that car is very strong, and the 458 is a phenomenally strong car. So Joe Macari and Tommaso Rocca both absolutely okay in their history, as I often do. And remember at Le Mans with one Mr. Adrian Newey alongside him as well. So yeah,
must have been a few years ago, Mike.
Okay,
I'm not that old yet.
Joe Macari, a supercar dealer in London, and it's good to see him back out on the track again. We're on board with Alessandro Bezzoni now. What we have Asia, Pacific and North America, but of course we also have pro drivers and AM drivers, James. And some of those AM drivers, Alessandro Bezzoni is a very good example. He's almost like an AM plus. Not quite a pro, but not far short, because, well, you can see from the grid position, he runs up there with the pro drivers. So, cars are out on their formation lap, and as is always the case with the Trofeo Pirelli and Copichel likewise, it's a rolling start. So the safety car will pick them up shortly. That's a great shot we have of a driver hard at work, and it is our P2 driver Babylos on board with Babylos, who not only races but driver coaches as well, and driver coaches a number of those, drivers, but certainly Christian Hobome in the Copa Shell class. All the social media on screen for you if you want to be in touch with the Ferrari Challenge and also the Finali Mondiali. There's all the social media for you, and racers.ferrari.com, the website, and the view from the paddock just behind our commentary booths as former champion Beppe Scanetti, who drives the Hublot safety car, backs the cars all up now, and we'll see the marshal post in a moment with holding the sign up to say get into grid order. Looking rearward from the Steve Wyatt car, there's Dario Carso, number 8, David Gosler, number 50, Florian Merckx weaving from side to side. It's really interesting, James. Some drivers are really aggressive in their weaving and trying to get some temperature into the tyres. Others are much smoother. Which way works?
I mean, I think just in GT alone, it's quite difficult to gain any temperature in the tyres. For us, it's almost impossible.
Okay.
I don't really think it makes much of a difference. The majority of it comes from the brakes, but of course these tyres are different to the ones I use. These are Pirelli. They look a little bit thinner, so I guess any temperature that you can generate will improve the starts.
Okay, well, the cars lined up behind the safety car now, gradually getting into grid order. Just see poking to the outside on the very right-hand side of your screen, the black and green machine of Max Blancardi, who'd very much like to be world champion once again. And that's very possible. Bjorn Grossman, of course, has taken the Trofeo Pirelli Championship. And there is Samantha Blancardi then. Max's biggest supporter and biggest critic as well. It's been very entertaining to watch Samantha on the pit wall sometimes, really motivating her husband with a degree of aggression, James. Pull your finger out, Max. Right, we're heading up towards the lights now. We'll see the gantry at the top of the screen as the cars now all itching to get going. It's when the anticipation and the anxiety builds, and so too does the sound of the V8s. The 458 4,400cc of power is unleashed now as we head towards turn number 1. Bjorn Grossman and Babylos absolutely side by side as they will head towards turn 1, and the rest of the pack come through, going nearly almost 3 abreast there. Alessandro Bezzoni on the outside, Dario Carzo right behind as well. Bjorn Grossman will try very hard to put the car in front now. It was on the exit of the turn where Babylos got right alongside him yesterday. He's not been able to do that now. Florian Merckx it is that...
he's off.
He is off. So that's disaster for Bjorn Grossman. But a good save from him. He's managed to get it back in, but he's lost so many places. And that, for Gregory Romanelli, is bad news because he's out and up against the wall.
Another one.
Now, did that car make contact?
Looks like it's damaged to me.
Yeah. So already on the opening lap, we've seen some bold and ambitious moves, which not necessarily been the right ones. And what it's done, it's played into the hands of Babylos, who's kind of metaphorically rubbing his hands with invisible soap now because he has got the lead. But Florian Merckx is P2, and they're very, very disappointed. Gregory Romanelli, and also out is Steve Wyatt in car number 477. That was the one we saw that you felt had sustained some damage, and it certainly looks like that. So there is Bjorn Grossman, who's factored back in and fed back in ahead of Alessandro Bezzoni. So Grossman with some work to do for the Octane 126 team. He's got his Octane 126 teammate Max Blancardi currently running in P3. Dario Carzo running in P4. And David Gosner about to come under some pressure from Ferrano in the 259 car, running that historic livery, as they do now complete the first lap. Brenner and Manuela Gosner looking on to see how David is doing. Well, David Gosner is currently running in P9, and there we can see David Gosner and James Weiland ahead of him. There's Bjorn Grossman trying to get his race back together again, but he's got a lot of work to do from back there now in P6. Babylos leading the race then, and at this point, James, it's crucial for Babylos. Tony Verlander explained this in the previous race. It's these early laps where you build up that cushion, which you're going to need later in the race.
Always better to lead a race like this. I can imagine right now he's pushing as hard as he can to try and get a gap. From there onwards, he can kind of manage the situation, manage the tyres a little bit, and everything's under control.
We were just looking at that replay, and we saw Bjorn Grossman's car, the back end really stepped out, James. I mean, he wasn't provoked into that, he wasn't pushed into that. It was, just carrying too much speed.
Genuine mistake, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't think there was any contact.
So Bjorn then would be furious with himself. He sets himself extremely high standards, and after all, he is the Trofeo Pirelli champion. You don't get that by being a poor driver, and Bjorn is far from that. So he's now having to try and work his way back into the order from P6. But at the moment, Babylos, Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi is under quite a bit of pressure from the hard-charging Dario Carzo. Dario Carzo has only had a bit season this year and only done the first couple of rounds, but it's good to see him back here now. And Dario Carzo, one of those really, really entertaining and hard-charging racers, and he's certainly keeping on the tail of Max Blancardi now. So Max Blancardi for the Octane 126 team, currently running P3. It's Babylos, Merckx and Blancardi. Then it's Dario Carzo in P4. And Bjorn Grossman, for my money, really lighting the wick up now with Emmanuel Onassis ahead of him. That's the closest battle in the front runners that we can see at the moment, as we focus our attention on the race-leading Scuderia Autoropa car of Matteo Santaporte, Babalus as he's known, and Florian Merckx is trying to keep with him. There's just under 8 tenths between the two of them. Babalus is not somebody that generally makes mistakes, and Florian's going to have to do this on pace and pace alone, probably. This is him, Babalus, hard at work inside that Scuderia Autoropa car. Now, the Mugello circuit, James, is very undulating. It's very technical. It's very difficult to overtake on, isn't it?
It's very, very tough. You've got high-speed corners here. I mean, fantastic corners. Arrabbiata 1 and 2 is just mind-blowing, especially when you're in one of these 458s. It's such a nice feeling when it's all hooked up. But yeah, no, we've got a big, long straight as well. Some serious top speeds as well. It's great fun to drive.
And of course, the Evo version of these 458s, which was introduced a while ago with the big rear wing and the front splitter as well, aiding the handling of these already phenomenal cars, able to push these absolutely to the limit, and that's what these drivers are doing right now in quest of the gold roof. Well, Bjorn Grossman has managed to get past Manuel Onassis, so Grossman now is up to P5, so he's making his way up the order, but a lot of work to do and a lot of cars ahead of him to get back at least into a podium place, which is what he would really, really want. But as we take a look at the lap times, Babalus 1:53.971, Dario Carzo 1:54.376, but 1:53.076 for Bjorn Grossman. So he means business, doesn't he, James?
He's on a charge, obviously. I'm sure he's revved up. I mean, I think realistically a podium is on the cards here for him. Let's just hope he can make some clean moves, if any. And yeah, be interesting to see a few laps time. Well,
he has Dario Carzo ahead of him now, and Dario is notoriously difficult to overtake on a track that's difficult to overtake. And if anyone can make that 458 twice its width, Dario can. So it'll be interesting because Dario Carzo in P4, James, is still hunting down Max Blancardi ahead of him. When, at this point, will he stop from attacking and go into defence mode?
I guess when he's right up his bumper.
Okay, stupid question.
When he's looking in the mirror and you see a car that close, I guess the only thing you can do is close the door. But he's looking aggressive.
Dario is aggressive, and if ever there was an unorthodox move that can be made and made to work, Dario is the magician that can make it work, and he really is right on the back of Max Blancardi now. He'll be pressured still further by virtue of the fact that he has Bjorn Grossman right on his tail now. So this trio are chasing the P3 place at the moment. It's Max Blancardi, Dario Carzo, then it is Bjorn Grossman. Now Bjorn Grossman and Max Blancardi both run for the same team, Octane 126. Grossman, who's already Trofeo Pirelli champion, but as I've explained before, even though they run for the same teams, absolutely no team orders in this, James. He ain't going to get any help from Max ahead of him.
Good. I mean, I really don't like team orders. You know, you race to win, and you know that's how every mentality should be. Obviously, in some situations when it gets political, you need to change positions, but to me, it's not needed in this race, I don't think.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carzo is not frightened by virtue of the fact that Grossman is behind him now, because he's pushing Max harder than he has pushed him. This is going to be really interesting, as they both get a little scrappy there, and Max just picked up a little bit of dust coming out of that turn, and Carzo really is pushing him so very hard. Max runs a bit wide again, getting a bit raggy. Now, Bjorn Grossman, of course, what he will hope is that these two fight and come to blows, and he'll be able to pick up the pieces,
exactly,
James.
But at the same time, these guys don't want to be losing too much time to the people in front, because by fighting, like, they're not going very fast, pace is down. So if he can get past, I think really he needs to do it soon if he's got any chance of getting back up to the front. But it looks looking good, looking aggressive. I like it.
Exactly what James is saying. They are losing time because the two ahead of them are fighting in the 53s, and in fairness, Florian Merckx last lap was the fastest in 1:53.844. These guys are in the 54s now as Carzo does go into defence mode, and there is an example of how wide he can make that 458 as Bjorn Grossman tries to find just the opportunity of a gap and to try and push Dario Carzo into making a mistake. And that's not beyond the realms of possibility. Dario, one of the really likeable characters in the paddock, speaks about 3 words of English, but is great fun. His facial expressions in the paddock when you are having a conversation with him, however stilted it might be. As Grossman now, does this ever work, James, when you're flashing your lights to try and unsettle someone ahead of you?
It does in Le Mans. I did it once in Le Mans and the guy in front just went off completely.
Right.
Yeah, no, but I don't. I think you just do it anyway. You're so desperate and so racy that you just do anything to get past. Oh,
he really is close, isn't he? So Carzo Grossman then, this is the battle for P4. Of course, Max Blancardi will be breathing a sigh of relief because now, whilst these two are fighting, he's able just to gap Dario Carzo a bit behind him. We look at Alessandro Vezzoni, who's AM driver there, running with Emmanuel Onassis in the 277 car. North American racer, as Grossman all over the back of Carzo once again around this Mugello circuit, just trying to find a way, and he's weaving from side to side, just trying to ensure that the 458 of Carzo, that his rearview mirrors are full of that Octane 126 car. And we have seen Dario make mistakes under pressure. Just wonder whether we're going to see one now. We're 30 minutes of racing still to do, and Grossman really is the German racer, pushing as hard as he can, and goes to the outside of Dario Carzo now. It's a long way around the outside, and of course you lose momentum. Carzo's got the right line.
Looks like he's struggling for grip, actually. Car's moving around a lot.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, Blancardi is up the road now and breathing that sigh of relief. So around the final turn here, Bucina turn, heading to the start-finish straight now. Really isn't. It's not until you've been out on the circuit you realise how downhill that is, James. Actually, you carry a lot of speed, don't you?
Yeah, and very cambered as well. It's a very, very tough corner. It's so long, so you either go in hard and try and stop it in the middle of the corner to get a good exit, or you do the other thing where you carry a lot of minimum. So it's one of those things where it depends who you're behind and what the situation is.
Well, this fight continues, and it's great that we're following this because it's probably the most exciting battle that's going on at the sharp end of this race at the moment between Dario Carzo and Bjorn Grossman. Lights continually flashing there. Carzo closes the door once again. Bjorn Grossman there with him, ready to pounce like a viper should Carzo make even the smallest of mistakes, but at the moment hasn't done so. And as James Collado has said alongside, looks like they're just to a degree struggling for grip, and these 458 cars, and Dario Carzo currently running P4 and defending against Bjorn Grossman, who power slide moment right at the opening lap meant that he lost a number of places. This in replay, as you can see, Dario really fighting with the wheel there. That's super slow-mo, James.
Yeah, just a lack of grip, I think, and as you can see, they've lost quite a lot of time as well. They're fighting, but I think by looking at it, it's quite hard to follow. As soon as you get close to the car in front, I think, you know, these cars do have some downforce, and it looks like it's very difficult here, especially in the high-speed corners, just to get close enough to be able to make a move.
And you say these cars have got a little bit of downforce. As Grossman now, I think there is a gap. He's done it, hasn't he?
Oh, I don't know. It's going to be side by side on the straight. Not done. It's going to be.
Carzo certainly ain't going to give up, that's for sure. So they are running absolutely side by side now. At the moment, Carzo's got the right line for the turn one, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Inside is the what's going to happen? Is he going to outbrake him here? No, he's got the inside. He's going to hold it, I think. Yeah.
So to go back to what I was saying, a little bit of downforce of these cars. Will that hurt Bjorn? Would it help him just to ease off a little bit because he's running in that little bit of dirty air behind Carzo?
I mean, there's nothing you can really do. I think he's got to rely. I think he's just got to hope he's going to make a mistake, put him under pressure as much as he can.
Right.
And who have we got off there?
That's the 259 car of Joe Ferrano.
Oh, blimey.
Now, that's not the first time we've seen that manoeuvre at that turn, James.
It seems to be... I've seen that, I saw that a few times yesterday. That was strange line, I put it down to.
James Wyland choosing a different line to the one that perhaps you would have chosen, I think, there. OK, back to this then, as... well, Grossman really isn't giving up here, but of course what he's also doing is he's taking an awful lot out of those tyres by being so aggressive, as once again he gets right alongside Dario Carzo. This time... oh, has he got his nose just in front, but he's on the outside. And
fantastic racing, though.
He's trying, isn't he?
They've not touched once, and it's very exciting.
Not surprisingly, the incident we saw in replay just a few moments ago is under investigation by the race stewards. It's quite an easy one to investigate, truthfully. But we continue to follow this then, as around the final turn they come once again. Now, at this point, last lap round, Grossman was right alongside him. So, down the very, very fast start-finish straight here at Mugello, and that's the site of out of the pit lane. Just wonder whether there's quite an age difference between Dario Carzo and Bjorn Grossman, as again they are fighting tooth and nail between the two of them here. And you're right, there's not been one touch between the two of them, which has been fantastic to watch. But
he just let him past. He put his hand out the window.
Yeah, we saw it. Well, I was about to say...
But to be honest, I think that's the best thing to do, because they're both losing so much time scrapping, and, you know...
I was about to say, the age difference between the two of those drivers, Bjorn Grossman and Dario Carzo, I couldn't imagine that Dario could keep that up for another 23 minutes. So, actually, he's probably been quite sensible there, hasn't he?
I think, realistically, best thing to do. I wish that happened in my race.
Yeah, of course. So there's Dario Carzo now relegated to P5. P4 is Bjorn Grossman, and this is our race leader, Babylos, who, you know, he hasn't built up a massive lead. He's got 2.2 over Florian Merckx behind him, and it was interesting. I learned from Florian Merckx, who's racing with a little bit of a back injury at the moment, and says he really has to try and put that to the back of his mind whilst he's racing. But he said it is painful. And James, that must, I mean, you've had injuries, goodness knows. Is it easy enough to put it to the back of your mind? Surely not. The pain is always there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're driving subconsciously. You don't really think about what you're doing, but anything that stops that from happening, so, you know, pain in the back, for example, it just keeps you just can't get into a good rhythm, because you're constantly thinking about, you know, oh, the pain there, the pain here, and yeah, it's always a struggle, but you know, it happens, and you've got to get through it.
We just saw a shot of Christian Hobome on the pit wall. It's Christian Hobome, this man that leads the race. Babylos driver coaches. There's more shots there, and Philip Barron, the team leader from Barron's service, who looks after Florian Merckx, who we were just talking about, and that is him, centre screen right now, who's running in P2, the European Pirelli Pro driver that runs for the Barron service team. As I mentioned, he's won an award already this weekend by taking the best livery chosen by his Facebook fans, which is great to get the fans involved, and they chose the livery that Florian Merckx is running now. And for my money, Max Blancardi's getting a little bit closer to him now. Blancardi last lap around was maybe 2/10 quicker. So Max Blancardi then, who's currently running in P3. Another Octane 126 driver like Bjorn Grossman, and it's going to be very interesting if Grossman can get on terms with him.
He's fastest on track at the moment, look, 54.7 for Grossman.
Yeah.
55.1 for the leader, so 4/10 there.
And we've still got 21.5 minutes of the race still to come.
It's possible.
So here's a replay then of Bjorn Grossman and Dario Carzo, and you can clearly see there, which James spotted, Dario says, just go through, Bjorn. And now he's been released from the clutches of Dario Carzo. We can see how quick he is. Andreas Zegler there in the number 32 car with a little knock, and having to use opposite lock to try and control that. And Blancardi really closing in on Florian Merckx now for P2. Blancardi flashing the lights from quite a long way back. There's Babylos, who's leading the race. There's P2, Florian Merckx. P3, Max Blancardi. Live gap between the two as they cross the timing line is 7/10 then for the Monaco-based Max Blancardi to try and claw in from Florian Merckx ahead of him.
Again, look, Grossman 54.2. It's a very, very fast lap. You've got another 5/10 out of the leader there.
I'd be pleased to hear that James Vyland, and we saw his rather bold and ambitious overtake across the grass, is going to get a drive-through penalty for that. So
I kind of expected.
Yeah. Grossman really is throwing everything at it. And you pointed out that his 154.272 is quickest of anyone out there at the moment, and he's chasing down his Octane 126 teammate Max Blancardi currently. And there is Blancardi, just a little bit ragged on the exit of that turn. He chasing down the Florian Merckx car ahead, and Florian Merckx seems to have stepped up the pace a little bit. Although Blancardi was quicker in Sector 1, Florian Merckx was marginally quicker in Sector 2. So there, the order ticking across the top of the screen for you as well. Babylos, Florian Merckx, Max Blancardi, and Bjorn Grossman. There is Dario Carzo, which was such a great fight to watch between Carzo and Bjorn Grossman. As James pointed out, very, very clean between the two of them, not one touch. And in the end, Dario Carzo yielding to the pressure and allowing Bjorn Grossman through. So he's kind of out on his own now, Dario Carzo, before we see the AM driver, Alessandro Vezzoni, there, who's running in P6 with Emmanuel Onassis. Then the best of the North Americans to run in P7 with David Gosner in P8. Really rather proves my point that Alessandro Vezzoni that we see there, James, is categorised as an AM driver, but is almost AM plus, or
yeah, I mean, he's just doing a very good job. Seems to be very fast.
And I think the setup that Vezzoni seems to have, and the relationship that he has with the team, works so very well. Whenever he's out on the track, he always looks very assured. Never very many mistakes, always blisteringly quick. Certainly in the AM drivers, it was. I was really rather hoping that Sam Smith, the UK-based driver who took victory yesterday, might be allowed into the World Finals today, but he hasn't done enough of the rounds really to get in. So I know the FF Corsa team were pushing hard to see if they would allow Sam into the World Finals, but it wasn't to be, sadly. It would have been a great fight between these two.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope he does a full campaign next year, but we're on board with Alessandro Vezzoni at the moment. Now at nearly half distance, we just saw him there run very wide. Will that be tyre degradation playing its part already, James?
Probably, yeah. I mean, but to be honest, the car looks pretty hooked up. Like you said, setup looks good.
It's just he and Team Pellin really seem to have got it absolutely nailed. Whatever circuit he's been at this season, he's always looked good, and the team, as we see there, it's a P1 in the AM category. There is David Gosner, who's a pro driver who sits behind Emmanuel Onassis in the 277 car, who's a North American pro, and we see Alessandro Vezzoni leading that little trio there. The gap between Babylos and Merckx right at the front is just under 4 seconds now.
Again, Grossman, so fast. 54.382.
Now, what I find amazing, James, is we saw how hard Bjorn Grossman was pushing behind Dario Carzo for lap after lap after lap. I would have suggested that would have taken a lot out of the tyres, but now he's lapping so quickly. I mean, it's a great combo, and wow, he's got past Max Blancardi with relative ease. So Grossman is now in a podium place. He's P3. We've got 16 minutes of the race left. He's 5 seconds behind as out goes. I think that's Tanny Hanna, who's out again. Tanny Hanna ended up in the gravel over the previous two races as well. He's not had a great weekend, Tanny Hanna, this weekend. So Grossman allowed through again by Blancardi. He's been gifted some opportunities, James.
Yes, yes. But he's brought a couple of laps ago. The gap was around 6.5 seconds. It's now 5 seconds, 5.2. So that was with not a real overtake, but you know,
with a please come through.
Please come through. Yeah.
Okay, here's the question for you then. Super experienced James Collado. 15 minutes left. We have a gap now of 5.2 seconds. Doable? It's a big ask, isn't it?
Big ask, but for sure P2. He's only second behind P2 then.
Okay, so that P2 driver is Florian Merckx. And there we see the two of them. So the live gap now is just 9/10 between Florian Merckx and Bjorn Grossman. So Grossman driving the race of his life to try and get good and come good following the mistake we saw on the opening lap. P2, a possibility for Bjorn Grossman as the back end of the car really steps out, James.
Yeah, it's impressive. He's properly on it, and yeah, it's nice to see.
This German racer has never failed to impress. He raced for a long while for a Russian team in the Ferrari Challenge and has really hooked up with Octane 126 and has delivered for them the Trofeo Pirelli Championship and would dearly love to deliver for them the World Finals as well. With just on 14 minutes left to run, he's chasing the P2 position at the moment, which is held by the Baron service driver Florian Merckx. And he really is closing in now, isn't he? You can see just how much quicker Grossman is, and I find this absolutely amazing. Given how hard he's had to work that car, just a little error there from Florian Merckx allows Bjorn Grossman to get ever closer.
At this speed, he's got a chance to win, but he does need to get past. There's some serious pace there in that car.
Well, just awaiting the €10 note to appear on the comms booth desk from James Collado as he and I has a little bet on who's going to be where on the podium here. But this is great to watch. You're absolutely right, because Bjorn Grossman is throwing absolutely everything at it. Around the final turn they go. Florian Merckx it is that's at P2, and Bjorn Grossman is chasing him in P3. He's flashing his lights furiously. Look at the pace Bjorn Grossman has got.
Flashing, can he do it? It doesn't seem like they gain a lot in the slipstream, does it?
Right.
You'd imagine that. Oh, here we go, side by side.
Heavy braking. He's going to do it. He's got the switchback.
Is he? Yes.
Oh, that was...
Has he done it? Just.
Oh, he set that up perfectly,
fantastic.
James.
Great move.
Oh, right. Come on then. The €10 is coming home, I think. Yeah. What have we got?
Well, we've got 5 second gap now, so we lost a bit of time in the move.
And you did make that point, didn't you? That it is possible, but by Jiminy, he's got to get past him really quickly.
Yeah, he might have won this one.
We've got 12.5 minutes remaining. It has to be said, even if he can get on terms with Babylos, James,
he's got to overtake him.
He's got to overtake him, and those two have got real history. So, well, they're in replay. That's where he had to stay absolutely committed, didn't he?
Yeah, that was close.
And fair play to Florian as well, that, you know, gave him racing room. And just look at the pace that man has got now that he's got past Florian Merckx. Interestingly, Babylos has stepped up the gas a bit as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Maybe he, like I said at the start of the race, he could have been managing the situation, looking after his tyres, and, you know, if any pressure arrives, he can just, you know, step it up. Let's see if that happens.
Given he has had clean air, he's had a clear track ahead of him. He has been able to. Look at Grossman go. He has been able to look after that car. But I have to say, I still think, I mean, this could run right to the very end. You know one thing for sure, Grossman, he's not going to give up without a fight. He's going to try and close that gap. Silence as we await the live gap. It's under 5 seconds now, 4.9. Still a big margin to raise.
I think he might have won this bet.
Well, it's been a great race unfolding, hasn't it? That's for sure, and it's indicative of how good Trofeo Pirelli has been right across the season. But for this world final race when it is the pride of the world at stake as well. Florian Merckx gets a little bit ragged there with Max Blancardi behind him, but Grossman is absolutely on a charge, taking another couple of tenths out in the first sector, so those tyres, well, he's going to be running on the rims, I would think, towards the end of the race, James. It's certainly going to be on the fabric, isn't it? There's going to be no rubber left on there at all, but it seems like it's not going to matter a difference to his pace because there's just some incredible energy that man has. There's the gap between Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi. So he was gifted the overtake from Blancardi, his teammate. That's for sure. Wasn't made so easy. So we see Joe Macari then. It was great to see him back out in the race again following the damage yesterday, but sadly his race has been brought to an end as we see him out of the car in the pit lane. Now, Bjorn Grossman is quicker through every sector, James.
He is, yes.
Wow. So Florian Merckx, Max Blancardi, and just see Bjorn Grossman at the bottom of the picture there. He's got under 10 minutes now to try and get on terms with Babalus, who's leading the race. Certainly exploring every inch of track limits.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure of the rules of the track limit situation, but it seems that they're all...
Oh no, that's David Gosner and also the 277 car of Emmanuel Onassis, and there's damage to the Onassis car, isn't there?
Suspension or something, the rear needs to get out of the way a little bit. Oh, I think he needs to stop now.
Yeah, that, well, you can see the angle of the rear there, the suspension is broken and the rear is steering as well as the front, so this is how it happened. It was with Alessandro Vezzoni, and say that there's coolant going down as well. That's going to make that turn difficult, isn't it?
Oh. Well, he needs to stop because it will overheat the engine as well. Oh.
So he's dumped a load of coolant down there as well, and I think Gosner did just collect him a little bit, didn't he? Well, that's not nice to see. Let's get back to this battle then. It's not so much a battle at the moment, it's Bjorn Grossman just trying to eke out the margin between himself and Babalus, and where are we at now? 4.5 seconds. It's
not really changed, I think.
It's beginning to look less. Yeah. This could change though. Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi. It's the final podium place in this world final race between Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi. Oh, and if ever tyre degradation needed to be talked about, that oversteer moment from Florian Merckx would suggest those rears are struggling now. So if Blancardi can get right alongside him, it's not quite, and then he is on the outside, going to be in the wrong position for turn one. This is a bit of a drag race. He'll now hope that Florian Merckx runs a bit wide on the entry to turn one, allowing him to get his nose on the inside. He's weaving all over the back of the Florian Merckx car. Now, will he get the cut back here? I think he will, but he's got to be quick, hasn't he? Because Florian's in the right place for the next turn.
Oh, is he trying on the... what a move if he's done this. Oh. I think that was fair and square, to be honest.
Do you?
Yeah, he had the inside line, and...
Well, Max is someone else that really, really knows this Mugello circuit like the back of his hand, and...
Well, he doesn't seem happy.
No, Florian, I think, sees a different side to it than you did, James, perhaps.
Possibly.
Backmarking traffic now to contend with as well as we reach the final 6 minutes of this race. Here it is in replay. He stayed absolutely committed, didn't he?
Well, he's got the inside line. He's entitled to... it depends if he forced him off the track or he went... yeah, maybe I changed my view a little bit.
Samantha then voicing her opinion, that's for sure. Okay, it's down to 3 seconds now, James. P1 and P2.
can't call it at the moment. Just 5 seconds to go.
It's all very well us talking about the gap coming down. He's still got to find a way past him, hasn't he? We'll see. Oh, and a mistake there from Blancardi. Has that allowed Florian Merckx back on? Not quite. That's the back-marking Tanny Hanna car, is it? Saw Tanny Hanna. No, it can't be Tanny Hanna. He was stuck in the gravel. It is Tanny Hanna's car, 457. Obviously dug the car out. Makes way for Max Blancardi and Florian Merckx to come through.
Under 3 seconds now for the first two.
Oh, this is going to go down in legend, James, isn't it? So, Babylos, so Florian gets ragged now, doesn't he? Blancardi has got that P3 place sealed now. However angry Florian Merckx might be about it. As Samantha looks on and is delighted at the potential of seeing her husband back up on the podium once again in this world final race. There's another couple of tenths come out, James.
I've just got my eyes on the timing screen right now.
So delighted to have James Collado, top GT racer, with us in comms here. And we've seen what has been a really interesting race unfold, and we're into the final 4.5 minutes or so of the race, with the gap between Babylos and Bjorn Grossman, P1 and P2, coming down quite dramatically. And I tell you what, Florian Merckx hasn't given up on this P3 place. Max Blancardi did manage to get past him, but there is an argument that perhaps he was quite forceful in so doing, and Florian Merckx appears to be fighting back. He'd love to be on the podium as well. So too, of course, Max Blancardi. So this is going to be a fight all the way to the finish as well. And Florian Merckx has been really furious on the headlight switch, that's for sure. Flashing his lights at Max Blancardi ahead of him. And Blancardi, of the two, doesn't look quite as quick now as Florian Merckx. Well, the top two cross the timing line, and here comes P3 and P4. Here's the live gap between the two of them, 7 tenths, as Samantha Blancardi watches on with some tension and some anxiety at Max there in the green and black liveried number 46 machine, who's currently P3. Ahead of them, it's Bjorn Grossman and Babylos. There's Martin Nelson. Not seen much of Martin Nelson, but he's running in P8. Could be P9 if Hutasoy does manage to get past Martin Nelson. It's going to be a long drag to turn one, and can't imagine Martin Nelson's going to gift the inside line to Hutasoy. We will see. Absolutely side by side on the front end of those 458s, and Martin Nelson for the moment can breathe a sigh of relief. The Scuderia Autoropa driver, whose teammate Babylos is right at the top of the timing screen at the moment, but the margin is sub 2 seconds now, James Collado.
I'm tense.
Right.
How many laps will we have left? 2 minutes 10 seconds to
this
go.
And one more.
This and one more, so it's a hard task.
It is going to be a hard task, but you know, fair play to him. He's certainly tried, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Certainly tried.
It's a shame he went off in the at the start, because imagine the speed.
Yes.
What he could have done with that.
Although I think actually him going off at the start has delivered us a better race.
Exactly, yeah. I think he's kicking himself.
Yeah, and I think actually, you know, that has been part of it, James. I think it's been, you know, he's so furious with himself, that's given him almost the personal stand.
Sometimes, though, I've had it before where you've made a mistake or you've done something wrong. You're frustrated at yourself and you do everything you can to maximise, you know, the situation, and it does work sometimes. Sometimes you just.
This has been an example of it working. It's down to 1.7 now, but we are on the final lap. I think, despite the valiant effort, I think it's. I don't see Babylos making a mistake.
Fair play to Grossman.
Yeah. So Blancardi and Florian Merckx fighting over the final podium place, and it looks like it's going to go the way of Max Blancardi. I don't think Florian Merckx is close enough to be able to mount a charge on the Max Blancardi car. And It'll be Babylos, I would think, barring any errors. There's Blancardi and Florian Merckx. We'll pick the leader up in just a moment and see whether, well, Bjorn Grossman is within sight, but I think it's all come a little bit too late, sadly, as Babylos has that 1.4 second margin over Bjorn Grossman, who will just chuck everything at it around these final turns. But I think whatever he throws at it, it's not quite going to be enough. Babylos, who has controlled the race from the very, very start, and right at the very end, Bjorn Grossman has just been delivering some incredible laps to even get on terms, but around the final turn they go. It's going to be Babylos, Matteo Santaporte then, who flashes his lights and heads towards the timing line, and will take the world final race here at Mugello for Trofeo Pirelli. In the end, the gap was down to just 7/10, James Collado, over Bjorn Grossman.
Fantastic racing, though. That was really, really good fun to watch. Very, very close. He needed one more lap. One more lap.
Yeah, and of course we'll never know, will we?
Never know.
How many races have we said that about? So the checkered flags wave then on what has been a thoroughly, thoroughly entertaining and very, very good Trofeo Pirelli race to watch. And there's Martin Nelson then, who is going to be in the Scuderia Autoropa team like Babylos, heading towards the timing line, but the best AM is Alessandro Vezzoni. Martin Nelson will take P2 in the AM honours. Then it's Hutasoy. And we're on board with Alessandro Vezzoni. Team Pellin. And there's Alexis Di Bernardi. Hardly seen him during the course of the race, but it's because there's been so much activity and focus on what's been going on at the front of the pack. So the order then: Babylos, Grossman, Blancardi, Merckx, Carzo, Gostner. Then it was Vezzoni and Nelson, with Hutasoy and Nico Sturzinger rounding out the top 10 in the world final race for the Trofeo Pirelli cars. And still the final knock-ins of the cars crossing the timing line now. Did lose a number of cars, but it's not quite as bruising as the Copa World final race was just a couple of hours ago. So a fitting finale to what has been a fantastic Trofeo Pirelli season in the Ferrari Challenge. And, well, the Octane 126 team down there they'll be disappointed that their man Bjorn Grossman didn't quite get there, but by goodness didn't he drive in chasing after this man. Babylos, who takes the victory for Scuderia Autoropa, and Marshals, without whom, of course, we wouldn't be racing, doing a great job as always. And, well, Grossman has got past him now, but sadly, after the checkered flag. So, been a great race to watch, and a great race to have you alongside us, James Collado. I'm going to release you now to go and set about your podium duties, as I'm sure they will come. And I think over the races that we have shared, that was probably one of the better ones.
Great one, yeah. And I'll give you 10 euros later.
James, thanks so much. And James will be performing for us in the Ferrari show to come a little bit later on, doing what James does very, very well indeed, and that's drive racing cars. And wish him well for Bahrain in the final round of his championship. So there, the delight on the Pellin, talking to Alessandro Vezzoni. And there, down there, the delight. Well, what a race. What a race. There's Babylos then, who takes the world final. What driving from Bjorn Grossman to take a P2. Absolutely extraordinary. There's Babylos on top of the car now. The delight's clear to see as the family enjoy the victory. And there, a man that drove so well, Bjorn Grossman, proving what a talent he is. Okay, he made a mistake on the opening lap, but drove like an absolute demon to take P2. Congratulated there by Alexei Basov. There's Alessandro Vezzoni, and there is Bjorn Grossman. The drivers be heading off to the podium, and there's Christian Hobo congratulating his driver coach, Babalus. Really likable guy too. And all the drivers heading up to the podium now. There's Samantha, Max Blancardi taking the P3 place up there on the podium. Here are the highlights of the race. As the lights went green, Bjorn Grossman and Babalus side by side with Sandro Vezzoni in there for good measure, and Dario Carzo too. So Bjorn Grossman making a very rare mistake there, and that allowed Babalus and Florian Merckx and Max Blancardi and Dario Carzo all to go through. It's going to be a disaster for Gregory Romanelli, who was out on the wall. So too Steve Wyatt. So Grossman then, with the bit between his teeth, had got to work so very hard to try and get back up the order, but get back up the order he did with some style, pushing Dario Carzo almost into the point of submission as Christian Hobone watched on. In the end, Dario Carzo yielded and allowed Bjorn Grossman through, realizing that at that stage in the race he was never going to be able to defend. So Grossman went through. Alessandro Vezzoni very nearly went off, but was able to save it from that. Unfortunately, that was coolant everywhere from the 277 car. Max Blancardi and Florian Merckx were having a torrid time of it for a podium place as well. Blancardi eventually getting the better of Florian Merckx. Florian felt undone though. Babalus, towards the end of the race, had the Octane 126 car on his tail, but he'd done enough in the early stages of the race. It ended Babalus, Grossman, and Blancardi, the 1, 2, 3. What a phenomenal world final race from the Trofeo Pirelli racers. So the big crowd here at Mugello have just enjoyed an absolutely phenomenal Trofeo Pirelli World Final. We've seen some supreme driving. Heading up to the podium next, and there we can see the Finali Mondiali and the track map on the number 93 car of Nico Sturzinger, Foytech driver. Two categories, of course, AM and Pro. Babalus, Grossman, Blancardi, Merckx, Carzo, Gosner, Vezzoni, Nelson, Hutasoy, and Sturzinger the top 10 in the race overall, with Segler, Ferrano, Zoy, and Di Bernardi and the others. As we go to the podium now, Max Blancardi's up there. So too is Bjorn Grossman. But Babalus is the winner of the world final race.
vincitori, i trofei sono presentati dall'ingegner Piero Ferrari, vicepresidente Ferrari, per il terzo classificato Max Blancardi.
Piero Ferrari, the vice chairman of Ferrari, making the trophy presentation to Max Blancardi for P3.
Bjorn Grossman.
Making the trophy presentation now to P2. Amedeo Felisa, the chief executive officer of Ferrari. And then making the trophy presentation to Babalus, it's Sergio Marchioni, the chairman of Ferrari.
Responsabile Pirelli per la Formula 1, consegna il Trofeo Pirelli per
And there is the Trofeo Pirelli Trophy 2. Mario Isola making that trophy presentation. What a race. They all get together for the photographs.
E questo è il podio.
Born to be Babalus.
Dottor Sergio Marchiotti,
Fantastic banner.
I vincitori del Trofeo Pirelli, anche l'ingegner Amedeo Felisa e Barbara.
Well, the Trofeo Pirelli World Final race will go down as one of the best to watch. Been absolutely fantastic, and to see Babalus, Grossman, and Blancardi up there on the podium. Well, Babalus may be the winner, but an incredible drive by our P2 driver Bjorn Grossman from his earlier mistake as well. Thank you so much for watching the World Final from Trofeo Pirelli, and stand by next season for more Ferrari Challenge action.